What's the shittiest way a friend has shown you they weren't really your friend? Invited me to her wedding as a gesture of reconciliation and then uninvited me when I RSVP'd, or in other words, responded to her invitation. Also, another friend took me out to lunch and let me cry to her after I broke up with my ex. She said she had to go to her mom's for a while and she'd be back that evening with treats and a red box. She ended up hooking up with my ex. Lied about me at our government job where I was investigated by the AG and ultimately caused me to leave a job and a boss I loved. She quit when we found out it was her who lied, as she knew my boss would can her ass. Oh, and I'm the one who got her hired. My best friend since middle school got me knocked unconscious after starting a confrontation with a large group of guys. Proceeded to tell everyone we worked with that I had started it. Few weeks later I had returned from a holiday to my home country and he had moved one of his friends into my room at the place we were renting. Never talked to him again. My freshman year in college I had two roommates and one of their girlfriends came to visit for the weekend, so the other roommate and I were gonna give them the room to themselves for a little while. Most nights this wouldn't be a big deal, but this was in the middle of a blizzard and we had almost 2 feet of snow, so there wasn't really anywhere to go. So my roommate and a few buddies were gonna take a friend's truck out for a ride through the snowy hills we lived in and smoke some weed. As we are walking out to the truck, I realized I forgot something and ran back upstairs to grab it real quick, and when I came back down I see the truck driving away without me. Turns out one of the other friends had their GF in town too and he brought her along, so there wasn't room in the car for me anymore, so they just left without me without waiting or even trying to tell me. My friend, we live on EST, texted my roommate/owner of the condo who was living in California at 5 o'clock in the morning PST to say I was high on meth and having sex parties every night. I was fast asleep. Turns out he was the high one texting so early. He was upset at me about something I stood up for and tried to make me homeless. Mid-2000s he tried to paint me as a porno king in high school just to get a girl not to like me cause he had a crush on her. Backfired. They immediately came up to me, asked me about it, and I said I only had one Playboy mag. My 16th birthday, I invited my friends over for a party including dinner. I spent all day cooking with my dad and made beautiful chocolate mousse cups in chocolate bowls. I went all out and I was so proud of the meal. I told everyone that dinner was at 6:30. Nobody showed up until 8:30. They were completely stoned and had a bag of toys from Dollar Tree. I had already cleaned up and put away all the food. They had all been hanging out without me on my birthday and I was still an afterthought. After 25 years of friendship, I announced to my best friend that I was moving to the city she was in. I had a great job opportunity and felt like it was an awesome time to make a big life change. I was so excited to tell her, I could hardly wait. She flatly replied with, "Cool. And when I asked her what parts of town I should look at to live, she stated, I can't help you. You should just figure it out when you get here." We never had a fight, had been close for our entire adult lives, and I had continually helped her in all aspects of her life without hesitation. To this day, I cannot tell you why she started treating me this way. Long story short, we live in the same city and haven't seen each other in 6 years, and I'm quite sure we live minutes away from each other. I will probably never know what happened. In 8th grade, after I switched schools, a friend of mine called me one night and told me a kid I wanted to be friends with killed himself. 3 months later I visit their graduation ceremony and find out he lied to me and that the kid was still alive. My ex got with 2 of my friends after a pretty bad breakup, to the point where it just seemed like she was trying to hurt me, and my so-called friends were willing to do the same to get some action. So I was in the car with a third friend on Thanksgiving Eve telling him how much this was affecting me, to which he replied, "That's so shitty, man, I'd never do that to you." Well, that Christmas the very next month another friend shows me a picture of that friend and my ex together on Instagram. They started dating shortly after that. Wouldn't stop judging me for the dumbest things, wouldn't stop cussing me out for no reason, said I was academically dumb. They always came to me for help though, said I wasn't street smart. I can kinda agree with it. Told me my hobby, activity I do, and will get me nowhere in life. I never said I wanted to do it as a job. Luckily I blocked them out of my life and don't deal with them anymore. Promised to invite me to a group outing, only to text me one day out of the blue that they already left, and oh well, from mutual friends who went on the outing, they told me that this friend never told them that I was invited. It was my 17th birthday. I had invited 2 of my best friends to stay the night. I waited for hours and finally got the text saying they got in trouble. They were twins and couldn't stay the night. About an hour later they were tagged in pictures. They were at another girl's house. I confronted them the next day and they stuck with their lie and said their mom wouldn't drive them because they were in terrible, so they walked to this other girl's house. My mom asked their mom because she knew how hurt I was. She didn't even know about my birthday, and they weren't in trouble. I stopped hanging out with them. Learned a few months later that one of them had decided she didn't like me because her 20-year-old crush, another friend's brother, had said it was a shame I was a minor because he thought I was cute. When I moved home from college I texted some of my old friends to meet up for my birthday dinner, a drink or so. No biggie. About half said they couldn't come, but a few never even replied. Really showed how much they cared. I had a very close friend in high school. She moves to Alabama for uni after we graduated, but we kept close. When she came back we didn't talk much, but I still considered her a close friend. We went out for coffee about 2 years ago. She kept asking me about my life and my goals, and I said I was happy where I am. I coach gymnastics, and my boyfriend and I will eventually take over his family farm and start our own family. She texted me 2 days later and said, "Hey, so my entrepreneur friend is hosting a workshop. Do you want me to sign you up?" I said no, but thanks for the offer. She then texted me, "So clearly we are at 2 different points in our lives. You have no goals or ambitions, and I don't want that kind of negativity in my life. I wish you the best," and I never spoke to her again. I drive 6 hours one way, twice in the span of a year to visit this fucker because I thought we were friends and he acted like we were. It cost me $300 each time to visit him, but he was alone in his new city. He moved away for his first job post-uni, and kept messaging me saying I should come visit blah blah blah. Later I find out this guy has came back to my town multiple times and didn't hit me up once, and he stayed for months at a time. Then I tell him about this and he says okay, he'll visit next time he's back in town. So then next time comes around and he stops by literally right before he's about to drive home, to say hi for 5 minutes. Like, dude, you don't wanna see me? Why are you just going through all this BS and making me waste my money? We were friends since babies. Our moms worked at the same place. My mom saw him as her own child and frequently he was at our house after school. Because her mom was kind of absent, his family moved out of the state, but we kinda kept in touch. Then he came back, while we were on our 20s. My mom was going to start remodeling the house. He insisted on helping us since he was working with the construction company. Long story short, he said he needed some money for the construction permits. In hindsight it wasn't even that much, but he took the money and we never saw him again. He even blocked me on Facebook. We later found out that the permit costs was a fraction of the money he took. Biggest pain in the heart was watching my mom crying. Disappointed that her own son would do that to her, so fuck him. I offered to pay everything and even pay her for her time off work for my best friend to come to my wedding, but she didn't. It was a really small backyard wedding and I didn't have any bridesmaids, nor did I want anyone to spend money getting dresses, blah blah blah. I just wanted her to come. The excuse she gave was work, and so I understood, but then later found out she lied and had planned a trip with her other friends. I still don't know why she didn't want to come. We were friends for over 10 years, and although it wasn't the first time she had really hurt me, it was the last. I sent my friend who was supposed to be in my wedding a text message telling her that my now husband and I had decided to elope before he deployed to Afghanistan because we wanted to be married just in case he didn't make it home, but that we would still be having the big wedding when he came home, and I was so excited for her to be a part of that. She never responded and hasn't spoken to me since. My husband and I just celebrated our 3rd anniversary. When I was 14-16, I lived in a granny flat at the back of my mom's house. I had a big group of friends who would stay every weekend. We'd have drinks, movie nights, just hang out really. We were like a family and were all really close. Then Mom put our house on the market and I lost contact with every single one of them. I think that's still the most used I've ever felt, probably because the friendships meant so much to me, and I feel like they faked the whole thing for a place to stay. I had been seeing a girl for several months. We were unofficially official sort of thing, introduced each other as BF, GF and all that. Had my birthday come around and had some friends over for drinks. One of those was Aaron. He was the last guy from our school friends group that I was still friends with. Pretty sure that was my 22nd, so we'd been friends for a while. My GF was drinking a fair bit and decided that I wasn't giving her enough attention and was flirting with him a bit. I didn't really mind. She was drunk and I figured it wouldn't go anywhere since I trusted him. GF was absolutely plastered by the time things wound down and everyone started going home. Aaron was drunk and was going to be sleeping on the couch. The two of them ended up on the couch making out and who knows what else. She started throwing up not long after, and that sobered her up enough to realize what she was doing. The next morning he acted like we were still friends and I was just quietly waiting for it to be long enough that he could drive home. I blocked him on everything the moment he left and had a talk with my GF. Ended up forgiving her due to how drunk she was and how sorry she was. Found out a few days later that at least 2 of my other friends had been telling Aaron that he needed to stop because she was my GF and he just made the excuses and ignored them. Looking back, it wasn't really a surprise. He'd started dating my ex a month after she broke up with me, then cheated on her with one of his little brother's drunk friends and got dumped. Years ago, almost all of my friends abandoned me when I was suicidal and had to go into hospital for a few weeks. It made my depression so much worse to know that sharing how I felt just scared people away. Luckily, I spent a lot of time in therapy and made a huge effort to put myself out there in my local music scene, and now I have a completely new, much larger and more genuine circle of friends. Smile. They called me up and invited me over to play a game with them and their friends. At the time I had only barely started driving, but I decided, yeah, that sounds like fun. So I went over to play. When I arrived, I found out that they had volunteered me to pick up the other friends. I was not prepared to do this, but she trapped me because I had already agreed to come play with her friends. I was pretty annoyed by this, but I went ahead and drove to 3 places picking everyone up, and no one was really ready to go when I arrived, and one of them also needed me to drop them back on campus to drop off their school assignment. By the time all was said and done, it was really late and I needed to get back home because I had to get up in the morning to go to work. Not one of them even said thank you. The friendship didn't really last much longer after that. When another friend, A, basically ghosted me and this friend, B, For a year or two, he came into contact with him again and they became best buds, which I didn't much care for but found quite odd. What's weird was that B had been claiming I wouldn't be willing to reconcile with A. Found it all very strange to make such claims, and for these dudes to act in such a petty manner without even asking or confronting me, but luckily I have much more genuine friends. Hooked up with my ex-husband behind my back, then had the audacity to bring him to the hospital to see my dad when I was there visiting with my new husband and small children. My husband and ex had never met before, not since, either. It was awkward. I stopped talking to her after that day. We were friends for 25 years. They all bailed on my college graduation and graduation party, and then accidentally included me on an email thread about all of them coming up with different excuses for missing my big day. It made me feel incredibly alone, and I had no idea that they viewed me in such a negative light. As an adult I realized they were jealous. But back then, just assumed I had a major character flaw and started isolating myself from people. They're trying to gaslight me because I'm thinking of selling the place I'm letting them stay at and not using the money to buy them a new place to live. Also, they're pretty messy and saw that they caused enough damage that it'll take a while after they move out to go to market. The latter part is not because of the move itself but just a really shitty thing for them to do. Edit. They knew I've been thinking about selling it since last year. This year was the final nail in the coffin with the property management team, whom they despise as well. I know as hard it is to find places with COVID going on, I didn't spring this on them at the last minute. I had a friend for about 2 years. We ended up both working at the snack bar in junior high. He got caught stealing food, dumb for a lot of reasons, but especially because his parents sent him to school every day with money. He got caught and never talked to me again. Reflecting on it at the time, I realized I only ever called him and was a friend of convenience. Now, I'll give friends breaks if they don't want to stay connected. I don't need to force anyone to be in my life. I have one best friend and would literally take a bullet for him. We've been friends about 15 years and can't trust him with everything. I always suspected but kept going back and forth. He's treated me differently every day, but there was one day where I knew. He took a picture of me. We like to take embarrassing pictures of each other and post it on a group chat. It came out really good. Everyone on the table commented how good it came out. I said to him, to gauge his response, send it to me, I'll make it my profile picture. I think I knew he'd pull something. He looked me right in the eye and deleted it in front of face and followed by saying, sorry I deleted it, man. Friend introduced me to her friend and said we should form a friend group. The friend she introduced me to told me he ended up catching feelings for me. We started dating. Friend gets upset and ignores me for a while. Senior trip comes up and she's a no-show. She tells me she wasn't feeling good. Another friend comes out and says this friend told them that she didn't go because Empress was there. Afterwards, I hear from my BF, at the time, that she came on to him and said she wanted him to be a part of her harem. What the actual fuck? This is currently happening. I had a stroke in 2020, I'm young, 31, and then found out that my kidneys were failing shortly after. I know it's a pandemic, but not one of my friends have even texted me to check on me, or ask my husband who they're all also friends with. Literally everyone cut me off when I got sick. Can't drink? Not friends anymore. Met ex-friend as a co-worker. He needed a ride home since he didn't have a car, so I offered. Drove him home damn near every shift for 3 years. Became my closest friend. I was 16. Just started driving. He was in his mid-early 20s. Now as a teenager I made some bad decisions and wasn't the best guy. But this was 8-some odd years ago. Fast forward to 4 months ago, when he told my fiancée every terrible thing I have done throughout my life, and detailed to her every reason she should leave me, gave her a spare key to his house and told her that when she makes the right decision his doors are open. Apparently he's been trying to end our relationship for almost 2 years, feeding her lies and whispering in her ear about how bad a person I am, so that he can have my fiancée join his fiancée in a 3-way relationship.